Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Hunter.
And this is Mrs. Schold.
And we have Mrs. Kankelberg behind the camera doing a wonderful job of recording. We're going to give you some information about the past couple of weeks and the weeks coming up. And Mr. Hunter is going to start with math.
So if your student is in my math class, we've been working on geometry with our focus on triangles, angles, and 3D figures. We're going to have a quiz over that early next week, so please check in with your student, make sure they've been studying for that. And each week you should be checking with your student about their buzz math and making sure they're getting that done, as those are assigned on Monday and due on Friday.
If you're in Miss Martinson's math class, you're going to be finishing up a scale drawing along with an assessment coming up on Monday of next week. Your child will have an optional bonus review assignment coming over this weekend, so ask them about that. And they're going to be moving on to Unit 2, which is going to begin with lessons on proportional relationships with tables and equations. Please encourage your child to complete any missing work or resubmit any assignments with a lower score.
If you have Mrs. Scott for math, her Math 7 kids are working on a new unit that introduces them to proportional relationships. And she wants to make sure that she reminds her class that corrections are due next Wednesday, October 24th. In the algebra class, students are working on solving and graphing inequalities.
And for science, students are working on explaining why matter changes state on the molecular level. Whoops, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. They are focusing now on heat transfer and rates of change with evaporation. They also look at condensation, melting, and freezing. Eventually, these ideas will be tied to patterns we observe in weather and climate. For language arts and social studies, students in my class have been working on a dystopian novel unit. They first identified some conflicts, acts of rebellion, and now they should be in the third part of their book, identifying some resolutions. They're overlapping those skills with narrative writing by identifying plot elements as well. We're also practicing that by identifying narrative examples in The Giver. Also with The Giver, we're working on what voices are heard through our government study, and we're overlapping that with social studies in Newsella articles and close reading strategies. They so far have learned about monarchies, oligarchies, aristocracies, and authoritarianism, so you can ask them about those things. Finally, we're wrapping up our ideas when it comes to figurative language in writing, and so next week and the following week we're going to focus on similes and metaphors with Langston Hughes poetry, so you can ask your students about those things.
If you're in Miss Hofer's class, they are continuing their exploration of geography and our shared literature reading. Students are practicing making a claim about a piece of literature and finding text to support their claim and explaining their thinking. Next week, they're going to be setting some goals for areas of reading and writing that they hope to improve on.
In Ms. Thompson's class, students are continuing their work with narrative writing. After focusing on the use of sensory details during their nature walk, students are now applying what they learned to writing strong personal narratives. Students will begin using writing workshop protocols this month to guide their revisions and give one another helpful feedback. In social studies, students have been building a framework for understanding history by investigating the lenses through social scientists use to study the past. This week, students will finish their final projects and move into their first unit of study on government structures. Ms. Thompson wants to remind her students that they are going to the Camas Library on Tuesday the 30th, and students need to make sure that they bring a sack lunch.
Our script has now turned blue. Oh, there it is. Okay, 4-star fit. If you are in Miss Marcel's class, in her leadership class, they are learning the differences in personality versus character, and students are working in their personality groups to create videos about behaviors in the hallways.
In Art 7, they're learning about Keith Haring, and students are exploring the artwork of Mr. Haring through watercolor projects. They're also learning about Zentangles. Students will show their knowledge of water techniques and Zentangles through an art piece inspired by Mr. Haring again.
If you're in Mr. Henyon's drumming class, they're learning to play some of the Latin percussion instruments like the gyro and the claves. Probably said that wrong, that's okay. We're also learning new rhythms, patterns to play on the conga, and studying Mr. Carlos Santana and Tito Puente.
In band, they're gearing up for their first concert on October 25th, and they're using Screencastify to record playing assessment videos and submitting those through Google Classroom.
For Miss Cotton's health class, they are working on learning about nutrition and how their bodies break down the food that we eat into nutrients to help with bodily functions. This week they'll be learning how to read food labels in order to make informed food choices. Their nutrition unit assessment is on the 26th. For more specific information about assignments and due dates, check her website, please.
Finally, not finally, second to last, we're going to be talking about some students that we wanted to highlight this month of October. The first student that we want to recognize is Will Nevin. Will's being recognized for staying focused and on task while a guest teacher was at school. Will was working on his assignments, needed little to no redirection, and accomplished his reading and writing work. Thank you for being responsible and focused while your teachers were out for the day. Keep up the good work, Will.
Our second student we want to recognize is Elise Parkinson. Elise is being recognized as a quiet leader. You can always count on Elise being ready for class, offering ideas when she deems them important, and to be courteous to all. Thank you for always doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. We really appreciate your work and your good ethic, Elise.
Another student we want to recognize is Annabelle Sefurle. Annabelle can be counted on to come into class, help out the teacher and her peers, and work hard toward completing thoughtful responses in her work. We appreciate her being a model student and being kind and considerate to others. Mr. Henyon would also like to add she's working very hard as a beginning flute player in the 7th grade band and making good progress.
Our next student will be Nolan Crow. We really appreciate Nolan's great work ethic and his ability to support other students in our class. We can count on him to provide quality contributions to our class discussions and to think about what others say and use that, as well as new information in class, to develop his thinking.
Stella Myers. Stella always comes to class with a smile on her face. She works hard not to just get the work done, but to really learn it and understand it. We can count on her to participate in class discussions and be a kind friend to her classmates.
Victoria McPherson, our script has turned blue again. Victoria is one of the most positive, hardworking students at Liberty. She is kind to everyone and gives her very best each and every day. Thank you so much for that, Victoria.
And the final student we want to recognize this month is Patrick Helt. Patrick is a great contributor to class. He maintains a growth mindset and can be counted on to find the positive in everything. He has a great sense of humor and is good about using it in a positive way. Thanks, Patrick.
Some important school days we want to make sure you know about real fast. The picture retake day is scheduled for Tuesday, October 23rd during lunches. Our fall parent/student goal setting night is also Tuesday the 23rd from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And another little side note that was not put on there, but just because I'm wearing the right shirt, volleyball tryouts began on Monday. So if your girl student would like to try out for volleyball, please get that signed up. We're also looking for a lot of athletes to sign up for wrestling, which also starts on the 22nd.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening to our video newsletter. And as always, if you have any feedback, go ahead and give it to us. Otherwise, have a lovely weekend.
Bye.